What's wrong? One of the seat. Yes, it is open. It's open. Yeah.
Hey, you're fine.
This one is too. Okay.
Chapter or something. Yes.
Okay, I have 6 p.m. and at this time I'll call to order our July regular Grayson County Board of Supervisors meeting. And this time, Mr. Smith, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind leading us in invocation. You pledge allegiance.
Citizens that have shown up tonight. Pray that our board as they go through this agenda, we will each one of them. For it's in your name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. Good to have everyone with us tonight. If you are here and you intend on speaking during the public comment period, just make sure that you've signed up on the sheet out in the lobby there. Would remind everyone of the decorum will be observed during this meeting. Behavior during all official meetings shall be consistent with any behavior exercised in any court or legislative room found within the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I imagine there will be several of you here that are here for the public comment period. If you will, just be respectful of each one that is speaking. There's no outburst or anything. If try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I think we will have the time posted for you up there, but I think there's a little dinger or whatever that lets you know that your time up is not going. So I'll try to remind everyone so we can, if we do have several speakers, have the opportunity to hear everyone. Again, thank you for your attendance tonight. Couple of items under the consent agenda. Prior to the approval of the agenda, and the consent agenda is each board member has been given a update with the addition of one sheet to the check registry listing some checks in the bills and payroll June 2023 item under number 2, and also under the Grayson County Public Schools first quarter appropriation. There is a note from the school system there. Okay. And if there is no questions concerning either one of those for staff, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
So moved.
If I have a second? Second. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Chair also aye. And for those in the audience, Supervisor Ivy is attending remotely. He had to travel out of town tonight, so he is with us for this meeting. Okay, we have no public hearings scheduled for tonight, which brings us to our first item on the agenda, which is a report presentation. Our first speaker is Mr. Jordan Stidham on the Baywood School update.
So for the Baywood School, most of the stuff from the original or the last presentation I had is generally the same. What happened with the last one was we had a lot of, I guess, wants, a lot more wants than we had space for. And so we sort of went through it and narrowed down what was priority. And so I just wanted to go over some of the changes to the overall design. You'll notice in the map that you all received that one of the ideas after the initial meeting was to add an agricultural education center that will have a dual purpose as sort of like an event center that could be used for fundraisers, carnivals, what have you. And then that could be used for 4-H, FFA, things like that. And that's down in the bottom right corner. The walking track stayed the same. The architects moved the ball field up beside the agricultural center due to the stream that runs down there. One of the citizens had a concern that that lower part floods a lot and would make the red field a lot swampier and unable to be used. And the biggest thing was inside of the school. We sort of had to iron out what was going to be going in there. And the downstairs stayed the same with the event space and the commercial kitchen and the other part of the school being used for childcare, particularly split between private daycare and potentially a pre-K type program. And so the idea there is that the individuals that wouldn't qualify for the pre-K would go into the private care. So we want to make sure that we're addressing the entire income range of the community. The upstairs was the big kind of if. And so what the community and sort of some of the supervisors that attended, we all talked about and settled on was that the upstairs, the community wanted to do like a combination of like a governor's school / trade school upstairs. So a lot of the regional high school students, so Grayson, Galax, everybody could come there and learn different things like drafting, kind of intro to like electrical engineering, electrical fiber optic, things like that. And so that was what was settled on from the community, that they wanted to go upstairs, was that trade school idea, that kind of the idea is to go into sort of the Virginia Governor's School program. I think Mr. Fant was explaining to me how the Governor's School works. And so that's the overall design of what we're going into the final draft with. And so what will come up next is the 27th of July, we have a meeting with Hurt and Profit, which is the engineers that are going to be going through the property to ensure the feasibility of actually using the property. So they're going to be checking the well, the septic, the structural integrity of the building, just to make sure that if we're putting money into this, nothing's going to pop up later and make it exorbitantly like expensive. And so I think I had invited Mitch and Steve to be a part of that if they wanted to. I'm going to make sure to stress to them that we need to test the septic and the well, because I know that's been big concerns. And so since we've settled on what the community actually wants to go there, they'll be able to determine the capacity load, and they'll use that capacity load to address the capacity of the well and septic. And so that'll be included in the final report, as well as the case studies and the grant funding and all of those things. And so I have that, and then there's a second item as a part of mine. Did you guys want to ask questions on that, and then we do the next one?
Yeah, so let's stay on this one for a moment, Mr. Chair. You mentioned here the community agrees, and you refer to the community and what the people want. How many people was at this last meeting?
I didn't get a count. How much?
Because I had several people that weren't aware of the meeting. I myself wasn't there.
Yeah.
Work schedule. So you don't, I mean, when you say the community, was there any mention from the community issues or concerns about cost or increase in taxes?
Not at this meeting. At the initial meeting, that was voiced was, how do we pay for it? What's the sustainability of paying for it? Will there be a tax increase? That was at the initial one. This last one we were at, the focus was on narrowing down the list of wants to what's a priority.
And who were the supervisors that were there? You said the supervisor wanted the Virginia Governor's School.
Well, a couple of the, I think it was Sir Belton and Mr. Fant were there, like as far as just
Was the
sitting in the
school
room.
board involved in that conversation?
They were not.
Because there's a lot more to having a governor's school than just wanting one and building a building. Jeff, if you know more about that, you can educate me. Well,
Yeah, there's a lot involved with it. There's 13 gov schools in Virginia right now. Most of them are STEM related. I think there is at least one that's art kind of focused in Taiwan. I'm not aware of one that's kind of focused on the vocational side of things. And so that would make it unique for us. And the gov school program managed by the Department of Education is something that we would have to work through with them, the school system. But it's a regional approach, similar to the gov school that's in Pulaski right now. That one is a STEM-based program. So the idea here, and it's purely that, it's an idea, is build on what our GATE centers are doing, our career and technical education centers are doing in the public schools, but take it up to the next level. That's the idea.
okay. Because I know there was no mention of welding, which is a big deal, and I know the school's been, the welding center at the school needs a major upgrade. And I may be wrong, this may be worth further investigation, but it seems like we were involved in plans for a governor's school that involved, and I say school system. And there was some discussion and some meetings between Pulaski and with, and I You'll ask me one out, and I don't think we had enough votes to get it to our area, but I would just recommend following up on that portion with the superintendent possible.
Yeah, so all of that stuff will be in the final draft of it. So this was more to get the ideas that we want to pursue. So in the final draft, what will be going into that will be reaching out to some of the contacts from programs like Virginia Tech and things like that, to see if they can provide resources to help teach, like the electrical intro, like the intro to electrical engineering and the drafting. And that's not an exhaustive list. That's just what comes to mind as I'm standing here. And that'll include reaching out to people at the program for the governor's school and the school boards and the things to build it. So that'll go into the feasibility, which is the last part of it, is who will be involved? Do they want to be involved? Are there additional costs? Are there ongoing costs involved with it? This was more, here's the idea of what the community wants us to pursue. Because we couldn't move forward with any of the engineering until we knew what was wanted, because it changes the capacity for the engineer scope.
When you say engineering, are you talking about they're gonna draft an architect of the campus? Or are we talking about they're gonna go ahead and start digging, cutting, and building?
So Hurt and Profit will go in, and the engineering part of it is they'll be testing the well, the septic, and the structural integrity of the school to make sure that there's no foundational issues. Because I know on the front side of the school, last I was there was a crack. And so they're going to be testing that to ensure that if you put your money into it, you're not going to get in it and say, oh, well, the side of this building's going to fall down. So that's what the engineering is the feasibility of the structure of the school.
And at the original meeting that you had in Baywood, it was said that if we didn't do something, we would have to tear the school down. It could cost us over $1 million. Is that, you recollect that? Or there again, I wasn't able to attend that meeting. But has there been any investigation of whether or not we're obligated to tear the building down should something not get approved?
There's not been any further investigation. The last meeting I was at, I believe you and the attorney had said that the original deed that the community members were quoting was inaccurate.
And no discussion on how we're going to fund this?
No, yeah, that's the last phase.
Thank you.
Just one of the, and it's kind of appropriate since it's the 75th anniversary with Grayson Library, that we're gonna do a little bit, but there was discussion about a library branch extension in there. Is that still part of the
Yeah, so on the
Baywood Library?
Yeah, so I got the draft of the final draft yesterday from our architect for some edits, and I believe that the idea was to look at the current, I guess it's a double wide that's sitting there.
Yeah.
To move it up and make it sort of like a satellite supportive library. I think some individuals had talked about the ability to put in computer-based programs in it to support the trade center. So students could be learning in the trade center and they go down to the computers and have simulations on there about drafting and other things like that.
That's still somewhere in the concept.
Yeah, that's in the final draft concept.
Mr. Franklin?
Yeah.
Any questions that you want to ask Mr. Stephen before we?
I don't have any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
The second part.
Okay, second, okay.
Yeah, the second part of my agenda. So the second part, I just wanted to update you guys on the snack packs program that you all supported. So that ended right after, I guess, testing ended for the school. And so with that program, we put it in at the high school. We did 100 snack packs per week. So over the course of the school year, we provided roughly 2,800 food packs to the high school age kids. And so the idea behind that was that we wanted to create a food program that would allow these kids to just go and grab the food, not to be ostracized by signing up and it being income based and things like that. And so we had 28 snack packs. At the end of the year, we went and bought bulk healthy snacks, so trail mix, granola bars, things like that, for all of the sports teams that were going into their semifinals, finals, things like that. And it was quite a good success at the school. We got to the point to where the kids knew what car I was driving, and so they would all need to go to the bathroom when I pulled up. We got to the point where teachers knew what kids were too shy to go get the food. And so the teachers, some of them would get like 2 or 3 food packs themselves and put it in their desk. And when that kid came to their class, they would get them the food. And so the middle school requested that we expand the program down to their school. And then I guess somehow it got around, and a couple of the other schools like George Wythe, Rural Retreat, and Fort Chiswell have requested that we expand the program there. That'll be a completely different funding than this one. That'll be through the With Plan Foundation. But I just want to let you guys know that we appreciate your support in that, and that it was a success, and we're planning on doing it again this year. But this year we've requested almost 1.5 times, maybe double the funding through the foundation to try and take it from 100 packs to 200 packs and into the middle school. So I think it was a great impact to have, and we appreciate you guys supporting that.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Didn't mean to cut you off. They just had the Baywood update on my face.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to have you with us. Okay, our next presenter is Mrs. Carolyn Trimcamp. Am I saying that right? Okay, we'll go with that.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carolyn Trimcamp, and I'm an officer with Point Lookout Mountain Homeowners Association, right up here. I'm here with one of the board of directors from the community, also Gary Trimcamp. First, I would like to thank the emergency service team of Grayson County and express how much we value and appreciate the service that you provide to Point Lookout Mountain and the rest of Grayson County. I'd also like to thank Linda Osborne for her help in letting me know what to put together for the packet to bring here today. It is our intention tonight to inform you and open a dialogue with the County Board of Supervisors of the changes that as a community we are seeing. It was suggested by one of your own board members for us to come and speak to you directly tonight. Point Lookout is a private gated community and is owned by the members in the association. Our road is privately maintained, and we invested a lot of money, especially this year, to repair. And it recently, and as a community moving forward, we must incur more expenses for repair. In your package, which I provided to all of you, the current easement that exists with the property owner and the county is that it expressly conveys that the tower that is up at the top of our mountain may be used by anyone may not be used by anyone outside the county government. There is to be limited access to the tower for maintenance purposes only, which is to be done by county employees as an ad-need basis only. That is on book 380, page 110, page 2. We as a community deeply understand that. We also have installed video surveillance cameras installed at our gate due to problems with trespassers in the past. We recently changed the service gate system from a peak to a code system to control access and into the association. We became quite surprised at the different vendors that are asking for entrance and are not authorized. We have people coming in all hours of the night, weekends, speeding up and down our roadways. So I'll proceed with the PowerPoint presentation that is in your package to sum up our expectations and our concerns. On behalf of PLM, we appreciate your time and consideration of the information that we are now going to present. PLM expectations. Use PLM service gate only. Will you enter and exit only through the service gate? Provide PLM with an engineer's report showing the tower is structurally sound. We would like the vendors that are using the tower to pay a yearly fee to use PLM road to access our towers, to access your towers. We also want to indemnify PLM HOA and its members of any liability, which you do have an easement with the owner. We will need to be added to insurance policies. PLM will require that documentation. Questions that we have. What county contracts exist? One of the vendors that we let come into our property indicated to us that they have additional contracts with the county. Do these contracts give permission to use the PLM private road? Individual companies need to assume liability for property damage and any bodily injury. Have they indemnified Point Lookout Mountain Homeowners Association and its members of any liability? Has PLM been added to their insurance policies? Security and safety concerns. Stability of the tower with added dishes. The number of dishes that are on the county tower have doubled since 2019. We have added pictures that we can provide to the Board of County Supervisors to prove that. We'd like to know what the wind shear factor study is. Security. PLM property owners and HOA have the right to know who is accessing the road and who is on site in the community. Road use. We've noticed that Lingo's network, Gigabeam network, and ham radio operators have access. They have no agreement with PLM. Is there a hold harmless agreement? Gate use. Exit via the main gate instead of the service gate. You're causing additional wear and tear on gate motors, electric systems, and sensors. Our gate is now almost 20 years old, and if we have it in our budget, it's going to need additional motors. Current situation, Point Lookout Mountain is privately owned and maintained. Expensive repairs were made in 2020 and more are expected. Existing easements, county tower and landowner. It's supposed to be county government use, county employees, limited base only. We have agreements for ingress and egress for the Hunt Club and Appalachian Power, both of which contribute to PLM HOA. Our objective here is mutual agreement between PLM HOA and all those who access our community road. In closing, I would like to add, we know that broadband is being used and distributed throughout the county. All of our residents, we have to use Starlink. We have no access to internet. I would like to add, if this was your personal property or your home, wouldn't you want to know who's accessing it? Do you have any questions?
So, I understand the tower that's up there is a separate issue. You're here just about road access, is that?
That's correct, Mr. Fan.
So what engagement have you done up to this point with county officials to try to move this,
So
try to solve this problem?
we wrote you a letter.
Yeah.
We met with you.
Yeah.
We got no response to the letter. And we saw an ad in the newspaper that you bought the
You being the county.
pardon?
You being the county.
The county has bought the AEP existing building and is going to move it over to your county site. And we have that bill of transfer that I put into your packet. And you have literally left PLM out of the loop. There's been no communication with our board on anything that's been planned, that's going to be done, that, and you need our road to get to the top of the Mountain. So that's why we're here. It was suggested for us to come here and put this on record so we can open a dialogue and talk about it.
So the goal is to get a meeting with the county administrator to try to get this thing moving down the road and resolve the issue.
That's correct. And also we would like, and the problem that we ran into is for years, we had a lock on our service gate. We changed it to a key system. And that's when we became aware that a lot of people needed this gate to get into our residence. We haven't denied anybody access in there because we wanted to wait and talk to you and listen to what is actually going on. We feel like we've been left in the dark and we don't really know why there's double the amount of dishes up there now, who's on the county, because we understand it's used for EMS service only. That's what the easement states, which I provided in your packet. So we want to get a feeling, and we're not denying, we just want to figure it all out and come to a conclusion. We did come to an adequate solution with AEP. They pay us to use our road every year, a lump sum. And we think that the vendors who are using your tower should probably do the same.
So the letters you sent to the board members, but you also sent one to the county administration. Is that right?
Do you have the county administration letter? It was addressed to Steve Boyd.
Steve Boyer.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be the right guy.
yeah, thank you. And we've received no response.
Yeah, Mitch, any administration, any response on that piece of it?
When she came to visit with me,
Mhm.
we were doing that.
Yes, thank you, sir.
I did some follow-up with our emergency service coordinator, all four. And Giga Beam, he said the traffic that he was aware of, Giga Beam, they had quite a bit of traffic during their install phase, but he's not aware of much since that, maybe 3 visits in the last 3 months. Wired Road, not aware of any traffic in the last 2 years. Amateur radio does about 2 visits, maybe a year. Last year he had 2 visits that he recorded. And then our maintenance crew and that goes up, there's about 2 visits to work on the gear that in the sheriff's office to work on the gear up there. He has suggested that we roll this system into the public safety network as a radio system upgrade is implemented. We're talking about there. And sheriff's office logs, one of the things they do now, they log the access request before issuing the key so that we do know who's going up there. And also they can provide exact data then on that. We suspected that there were more keys out than we were aware of, so we rekeyed the structure so that the only keys are with the 911 radio technician, the sheriff's office, and Paul himself. Installing security cameras with remote monitoring capabilities so that we have full accountability for site access going forward. That's what we've done to this point, Mr. Chairman.
But the question before that they're posing is really about access, and there's legitimate reasons to get up there. And I think what they're asking for is if they can have a meeting with the county administrator to try to come to some understanding at least of what's going to get done, what's not. Because since this, I don't know, what's the date on this agreement? When it was originally, a couple of days ago.
2001,
Right.
the easement.
Right, so, in 22 years,
I think Mr. Boyer has plans to do that. He was the one that said, let's get with Paul, let's see how much traffic we have going up. This is his starting point, I think.
no, I just think, it sounds to me that there's some mission creep associated with, what is classified as county official. We use a lot of subcontractors now to do some things, and so, but yet they're still doing county business. But I think if we could facilitate that to see if we can resolve this issue.
So,
That's the point.
so I guess the question I have is, so what you're telling me is Gigabeam and Lingos purely are up there for the only reason of EMS services?
Neither one of those are EMS, those are both internet providers.
So-
Lingo is with the Wire Road, Gigabeam is with the county effort.
So if we go back to the
And
easement,
Gigabeam is also with the APCO.
so if we go back to the easement, which I quoted.
Right.
It's the easement for the tower only exists for EMS services.
Right, I guess the issue, the rub is from where I'm sitting is that there's a county tower up there that has county equipment on it that requires county access. And these organizations, whether they're Lingo or Gigabeam, are affiliated with the county. And so what I think has happened, again, John Vance, analysis is that over the 23 years, what has been defined as a county official and what the county used to do, county doesn't necessarily actually do, we subcontract to somebody else. And so with that access issue, is what you all are here about, and we need to kind of update the rules and of the game, I guess is what we're at.
Yes, you need to update the easement and you need to update it with PLM
Right.
road and, that's what we're
That's
asking
what I'm
for.
trying to help facilitate here with you and with Stephen Boyer is to get, so we can get that thing updated, get it
Yes.
current.
And according to the Virginia statute, I know that you guys get a fee that goes into your highway fund, for all the cell, dishes that you put up on that tower for every single one. It's laid out in here at 56-484-26. And it goes into the back, which is, it only addresses public road. It doesn't address private road. So we're asking for, since you guys are collecting a fee to use your highway, it's our road. All we're asking for is,
I fully understand
I just
what
want
you're
you
asking.
to, I just want you to be clear, for the record, where we're coming from,
Gotcha.
okay?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Trinkamp, I met with one of your homeowners after a couple of our meetings here and I'm trying to see if this is this same issue because we did receive some FOIA requests, wanting to know who's on the tower. I think myself and the county, I don't know if the whole board got them or just I got them and the county administrator. Linda being our FOIA officer, guess you did these FOIA requests that we got from one of the homeowners asking about who all's on the towers.
So,
Was that just, is this a separate thing or is
So,
that part of your issue?
no, it's not part of our issue. That's an issue that you have with the individual homeowner that owns that land. Okay, they actually own that land and they have the right to know that information. We have became aware of it when we changed the way we did our service gate. When we started asking people to call to get a code to get in. And then we found out that Lingos and Gigabeam have contracts with the county. Well, that's great, but they don't have a contract with us to use our road. So that's what we're coming from. I think the homeowner is coming from a different perspective. And that's not, I know what his issues are and they need to be dealt with separately.
Okay, so that's still ongoing because I don't know, and whenever I tried to find out who's got towers and for the homeowner that was asking, I couldn't find out. I didn't know, and it seemed like we just kept kicking the can around trying to figure out who all's on those towers.
I
If
can
I
definitely,
understand you correctly, it's only as it relates to the county and emergency services from Mr. Fance's perspective, he's been here way longer than I have. It's anything the county needs or deems that they need, it seems to be used for. Is that?
so it states clearly in your easement that it's supposed to be used for county emergency services and maintenance. And it's only supposed to be county employees that use that tower. Since this wire road and broadband has developed, now we're getting outside vendors that are coming in. We renegotiated with AEP because they have a tower up there also, and they kick us money for our road, a yearly fee. So we feel that if you're using that tower for something other than county services, EMS, which we fully support and we don't expect a fee for that, then we should get a fee from those vendors that are providing broadband and internet to the rest of the county, since we as a community can't even take advantage of that.
So you as a community don't get gigabit, is that what I'm hearing? You don't have any kind of internet?
We have Starlink. That's what we can get, Starlink. And we were told by Gigabeam and Lingos, we can't get it because we're too close to the towers. So we use Starlink, which works amazing.
Well, I appreciate all the research, and there again, when we got the FOIA request, I figured it was because it was in my district. I don't know if the other guys got that same FOIA request. I know the county administrator did, and when he and I talked, we were just kind of like, we didn't know what's going on.
So from my talking to the homeowner who owns that property, he's under the same opinion. That tower is only supposed to have emergency service equipment on it, and only county employees are supposed to use it. And we fully support that.
Now, you're saying opinion, but is it in writing?
Yes, I
So
gave you the
So
copy
it's
of
more
the
than an
easement.
opinion, it's in writing.
Mhm.
Okay. Well-
There's an easement that exists that I provided in your packet.
Well, I have full confidence that our county administrator will help you hash this out. So
And who would that be?
Steve, well, he's not here tonight. He's on vacation, but
He's on the phone
Oh,
with us, he's here.
oh, he's drunk.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'll get resolved.
Well, we did try to talk to, I do know that our president reached out to Mr. Boyer and had a conversation. We've talked to Mr. Fan about it. And like I said, we support county EMS totally, and we would never deny access. Right now, if Lingos calls us because we have a phone number, and we have a couple phone numbers, we ask them what they're there for. We give them access because we don't want it to stop that. We just want to work with you guys and find out, update our concerns, our liability concerns, things like that. And they do, I hate to say it, but they do speed up and down the road, and they come in all hours of the night. And the other problem is we do have part-time homeowners up there. So we as a board are obligated to make sure that the community is safe. That's why they bought there. It's a gated community. Okay?
Well, thank you. That's very informative. Thank you.
I think it'd be the consensus of the board to ask staff to schedule a joint meeting and work out, see what, get everything resolved.
Can you give me an appropriate time frame for that so I can take that back to the board of directors and make sure that, will that be coming from Mr. Smith?
We can, if you can find a good time and then relay it on to her for Mr. Boyer.
Okay, thank you again.
Within the next 30 days be fair?
That would be more than fair.
Okay, if Mr. Boyer can work that out in the next 30 days to make some arrangements to meet you guys, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now brings us to new business. Proclamation with Grayson Regional Library. Smith?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Be happy to read this proclamation in honor of our library. Glad Tom's here tonight. Proclamation recognizing the 75th anniversary of the With Grayson Regional Library. Whereas the With Grayson Regional Library has been a vital institution within our community for the past 75 years, serving as a beacon of knowledge, learning, and cultural enrichment. 1948, with the noble mission of providing free and equal access to information, literature, resources for all residents within our region. Whereas the With Grayson Regional Library has consistently upheld its commitment to fostering a love for reading, supporting educational endeavors, and promoting lifelong learning among people of all ages. And whereas the With Regional Library has been an essential resource for students, researchers, professionals, and community members, offering a wide range of materials, programs, and services that have enriched the lives of countless individuals. And whereas the With Grayson Regional Library has continually adapted to the changes, needs, and demands of the digital era, embracing technology and expanding its digital collection and services to ensure widespread access to information and resources in the modern age. And whereas the With Grayson Regional Library has played a significant role in promoting literacy, providing computers, internet access to underserved populations, facilitating community engagement through workshops, seminars, and events, and fostering a sense of belonging among a diverse group. Whereas the With Grayson Regional Library has collaborated with educational institutions, local organizations, and community partners to create innovative programs that enhance educational outcomes, encourage lifelong learning, and support the personal and professional development of individuals throughout the region. And whereas the With Grayson Regional Library has been an invaluable community hub, bringing people together, fostering social connections, and promoting cultural understanding through its diverse range of activities, exhibits, and initiatives. Whereas the 75th anniversary of the With Grayson Regional Library represents a momentous milestone in its history, symbolizing the enduring impact it has made on the generations of residents and the ongoing commitment to serve future generations with excellence. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Grayson County, Virginia hereby recognizes and celebrates the 75th anniversary of the With Grayson Regional Library as a cherished institution that has played an integral role in the intellectual, educational, and social fabric of our community. And be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Grayson County, Virginia commends the dedicated librarians, staff, volunteers, and supporters of the With Grayson Regional Library for their unwavering dedication, passion, and commitment to providing invaluable resources, services, and opportunities for personal growth and enrichment. And be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Grayson County, Virginia encourage all residents of our region to take part in the festivities, the programs, and events organized by the With Grayson Regional Library to commemorate this significant milestone. Recognizing the library's contributions and reaffirming our collective commitment to fostering a culture of literacy, learning, and intellectual curiosity within our community. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to the With Grayson Regional Library as a token of our appreciation and support for their exceptional contributions to our community's intellectual and cultural well-being. Adopted by Grayson County Board of Supervisors on the 13th day of July, 2023.
I get that, you get that.
You got any other board members, Mr. Phillips? Can you get on the
It should be in.
Do I need to do I need to? Good.
Just 8 more things.
Thank you.
We need to have roll call vote. All in favor, I guess I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the resolution.
Okay. So this will require a roll call. Mr. Mitch? Aye. Mr. Fain?
Aye.
Mr. Belton? Ms. Riley? Mr. Ivy? Again, connection. Okay, maybe you can join that later, but, all right, Chair also aye. Which next brings us to, board appointments. We had 2, that were listed. One was, planning commission from my district, and I'm still trying to find someone. Mr. Dudley had requested that, we find a replacement for him. Certainly appreciate all the hard work he's done over the years. And then the other was,
Rec advisory, and I talked to one individual, he's thinking about it, no decision yet, so I'm still working on it.
so we'll table those appointments. Which brings us, to county administrator's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the only thing that I have, but I did want to mention that Preserve Grayson and New River Wildlife Conservation Club will be cleaning up on the new, on August the 5th at 9 o'clock. And that will take place, this is a new location since the last email, so 7107 Riverside Drive, Freeze, Virginia. And I just want to make note of that because that'll happen before our next board meeting.
Mr. Chair, I got a request for the administration. For the next board meeting, could we get an update on where we're at with Gigabee? Back in January, the representative was here, it was January, February, and he had indicated that he had asked for an extension to take us through June on some grants. Can we just get an update on that at the next meeting, possibly?
I'll go ahead and make one announcement, prior to registered speakers and public comment period. The Carroll County Board of Supervisors, Galaxy City Council, and the Grayson County Board of Supervisors and the Twin County Regional 911 Commission will hold a public meeting on August the 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Crossroads Institute to discuss regional interoperable radio system improvements. So everybody can make note of that meeting. Okay, and before we get into the public comment period, we're going to take about a 5-minute recess. So we'll return in 5 minutes.
He lay down a little bit. He said he was fine when he got home, with those things or wherever.
The painkiller. What?
It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm a little bit worried about what I need to say. Doesn't mean that. But, oh, you saw that. I think you couldn't find it for some reason. Sometimes it takes to be fun. Well, I almost keep thinking about I'm too. But she's here from work. Yeah. Yeah, like it is.
What are you doing? You got a function? Was it
All right, man. It gets out of hand, right? You can wait on the way.
Start back. Next item on the agenda will be registered speakers and public comment. Our first registered speaker is Eugene Kochick. You straighten me out when you get up there.
What it is, I want to thank you, gentlemen, and everybody that's in attendance here about your considering Grayson County for a sanctuary for the unborn. And that is so very important to me. I come from a different background than I believe most anybody here. My mom and dad were half Jewish and half Gypsy, which means the whole world's been trying to kill us for 4,000 years. And the right to life is very important. My mom and dad were each sold to two different families in New York City, 1907. They were betrothed, were very patriotic. Every one of my uncles was in World War II. Two of them received the Purple Heart. My two brothers were killed in the Battle of the Bulge. My brother and I were in Korea. My daughter was the first crew chief on an F-15 fighter aircraft. And I'll stop there because I got a whole empty family. But why life is so important, sir, is my whole family that was left in Europe was eradicated. They were all dead. Only one made it through till 1953 and died. And my wife that passed away, we had 3 children, we couldn't adopt. We adopted 3 more. And they're so precious and unbelievable, but they're also most vulnerable. And God has blessed me in so many ways for all these things that I will fight for a sanctuary city. And I commend you gentlemen for your courage to go with it. You guys are super. And I'm supposed to only have 3 minutes, and I'm looking at my wife because at church and Bible study she pointed me. So, but that's basically what I wanted to let you know. I'd like to keep more up to speed with it. And also, again, thank you guys for having the courage to start it. You are to be commended, and God bless.
I just want to say that I was born in the mountains of North Carolina, and I was adopted. And my birth mother was an Army nurse, and my birth father was an Army soldier. They gave me life. They let me be able to go to school, get married, have 4 wonderful children and 8 beautiful grandchildren. And I'm urging you to please stand on the side of life. I wouldn't be here today had my mother not decided I'm going to stand for life. And I'm asking you, urging you, and begging you for all the unborn children in this whole county that's going to be coming up. Please give them life. And I want to leave you with one last thing, and that is the Bible says you are wonderfully and fearfully made. And just keep that in mind. That's what God thinks about children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'm blessed, that's my wife.
Our next speaker is James Fry. Well, if you would mind, me come up to state your name and address.
I am James Fry. My address is 2824 Crossroads Drive, mailing address Galax in Sunbrook, Grayson County. I come here, I'm on the opposite side of this position. What I want to say to people who say they are pro-life, what I would say is that's about half disingenuous. They're not pro-life. What they basically are is pro-birth. They want to see women get married, have children, and not abort them. That's what they want. And they want them to have children. But they're not really pro-life. If they were pro-life, they'd try to pass some gun ordinances. In this country now, it's more dangerous for children, living children, around guns more than automobile accidents. They kill more children now with guns than they do automobile accidents. It's the number one killer of living children today. Also, I would guess that most of the people who are for this ordinance, they were not the people who were protesting against the Iraq War. We killed 4 million, killed, maimed, or otherwise displaced 4 million Iraqis in Iraq. And I will guarantee you, a lot of people in this room who are for this ordinance, you were not for that. You did not protest that war. You were all for it. When the disc jockeys would not play the Dixie Chicks on the radio, you were all for that. You promoted that. So this whole idea that you're pro-life is not really true. What you really are is pro-birth. That's what I want to say. And I'm a man, I'm an old man, there's no way I can have a child, so this is really none of my business. But I would also point out that the 5 of you are also white men, and it's none of your business either because you can't have children. So it's none of your business whatsoever. It's a woman's body, it shouldn't be your choice.
Terry Glenwood, I get that right?
Terry Dunleavy, 219 Reservation Lane, Mount of Wilson, Virginia. I practiced law for 32 years before I retired 4 years ago. There's probably nothing more useless than a practicing attorney than a retired one. But I'm here because of my background. I tend to focus on legal issues. And in my opinion, the abortion battle should be fought in Washington, D.C., and maybe in Richmond, Virginia, but not in Independence, Virginia. And the reason I say that, it's questionable whether this board has the legal authority to even pass the ordinance. As you know, Virginia is a Dillon rule state, which means that this board only has the legal authority to legislate on matters in which the state has delegated regulatory authority. Abortion is legal in Virginia, and obviously the legislature hasn't delegated regulatory authority over abortion to the Board of Supervisors, to Grayson County. Secondly, the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, purports to make illegal the shipment and receipt of abortion medications through the mail. As far as I know, regulation over the U.S. mail is a federal issue, and it hasn't been delegated to Grayson County. So it's questionable whether you have the authority based on those two things. The proponents of the ordinance cite the Comstock Act, which is an 1873 act that dealt with obscenity. And from 1873 until now, it's never been utilized to regulate abortion. The Justice Department issued a memorandum in December that said that the Comstock Act doesn't apply to abortion. Now, it's true that a federal judge in Texas ruled that it did, but it's also true that a federal judge in the state of Washington ruled that it does not. So this is an issue that's going to work its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, where it should be decided, not here. And if the Supreme Court rules that the Comstock Act does apply to abortion, well, then that's the law of the land. And this ordinance would be superfluous and ineffective. It would be unnecessary. If the Supreme Court rules that the Comstock Act doesn't apply to abortion, then this ordinance would be null and void from the start. And finally, the issue is, how will this ordinance be enforced here in the county? As far as I can tell, short of having a deputy at the post office open up everyone's mail to see what's inside, it can't be enforced here in the county. And if it can't be enforced by the county, then what is the point? Because this ordinance doesn't purport to outlaw abortion. It only purports to make illegal the receipt or the mailing of abortion medications in the mail. So for all those reasons, I would urge this board to reject this proposed ordinance when it comes up for a vote. Thank you.
Thanks.
James Anderson.
Good evening, board. James Anderson, 1767 Riverside Drive, Independence. I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you tonight, and I promise you, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about legal affairs. I'm not a history buff, as some have been, and I will tell you what I am. I'm a lifelong Grayson County resident, 48 years since birth. I'm a Christian. I stand firm on the Word of God, and I count it an honor to stand here tonight to encourage you to do anything that you can to stand for this sanctuary for the unborn proclamation, ordinance, whatever it may be. I believe anytime we're given an opportunity to take a stand with God, I think that's a good thing. I think God blesses those that honor Him in what they do. And I count it, again, a pleasure and honor to be here with y'all tonight. And I thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Bill Perkins.
My name is Bill Perkins, 1087 Beech Grove Lane, Baywood. And I'm here to speak for the ordinance for the unborn. I am a candidate, as you guys are probably aware already, for a seat on the Board of Supervisors representing the Old Town District. And I would very much, if I was one of you, be supporting this ordinance. First, because I think it's very important from a moral standpoint regarding protecting those who really don't have much choice in their situation as the unborn, and to abort them, to terminate their life as such before it even starts hardly is wrong. A lot of legal questions are being raised here about the ordinance. As far as I'm concerned, they're irrelevant. It's a moral question. Anyway, thank you very much.
Next is Darlene Houston.
Darlene Hensel, 817 Oak Ridge Drive, Independence. And when I was here at the last meeting, and I went home thinking, is there another county that has the sanctuary rights for the unborn? They are, and I shared this information with Mr. Smith, and maybe he shared it with you all. And I think when there is conception, there is life. And it says the Declaration of Independence drafted by by Thomas Jefferson affirms that all men and women and children are created equal and have been endowed by their Creator with certain rights, specifically the rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which are secured by the government's institution among men depriving their just powers from the consent of the government. The Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution affirms that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. And the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution affirms that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall deprive any person of life, liberty, and property without the due process of law. So I think all babies are entitled to life, and we should not be making that decision. It's not our decision, it's God's decision. So I pray that you all will work with this and maybe come up with something for Grayson County. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a resolution.
I'm probably not going to get applause from the hallway. That's okay. My first time. Woo! While I realized.
You will state your full name and address.
Oh, Tempe Blazak, 638 Fisher Peak Road. Okay, that's Virginia. Do I need to tell you the zip? Seriously. Okay. While I realize that we all have strong beliefs, if we cannot find middle ground, we all lose. We are all pro-life here. The difference is we put a priority on the life of the mother. Regardless of what you've heard, no one here wants late-term abortions unless it involves the life of the mother. Reversal of Roe v. Wade constitutes wide-ranging implications for women of all ages who are victims of rape or incest. Most recently, a 10-year-old girl, raped, forced to go to another state to get an abortion. I don't know what God or Jesus believes in that, but whatever. Some states are now preventing abortion even in cases of severe fetal abnormality, or, believe it or not, the life of the mother again. In 2019, this is what I'm trying to understand here is cause and effect. In 2019, you want this sanctuary, and that's wonderful. You want to save things, that's wonderful. In 2019, over 650,000 women were raped in this country. That's only the ones reported. What's worse, it has been rising for the last decade at an annual rate of 2.9%, and this trend shows no sign of decreasing. There are currently an estimated 5,400 children in the Virginia foster care database, just in the database. We all understand wanting to save a life, but let's first trust science as to when sustainable life begins instead of a belief. These lives that you think you are saving have higher rates of homelessness, abuse, human sex trafficking, and suicide. By taking away a woman's reproductive rights, you are priming the system to take away so much more. We need to put our focus and energy on education and prevention. Birth control should be a human right by choice. We need to stand up and stand behind our youth, educate them, not force them to have babies. If you want to offer a sanctuary, open your home to a few that are unfortunate children that are already in the system. The numbers matter, but let me leave with this. If we want to see a change and a compromise happen, how about we make men responsible for their seed and sperm? Let's develop something simple like an after-sex swab that stores a man's DNA, and then there's an equal responsibility. Penile insurance may be in the near future for all of you. Thank you. That was funny.
Next is Tracy Cummins.
Hey, Tracy Cummins, 743 Powder Mill Road. I want to share with you all a recent donation. As we're starting, we are pro-life. I'm pro-life. And I'm pro-life from womb to tomb. I have recently started a website. I couldn't believe I could do that, but I did. our website, and on it we also link Human Coalition, we link Care Portal. We're linking resources together with pro-life help with unwanted pregnancy. If the mother chooses life, we want to help that woman choose life. We want to help that woman experience that option as well. We also want to enforce the need for foster care. I personally am wanting to be a foster parent. My husband, not so much. But that's, we need to raise awareness, and I intend to do that, not only with Grayson County Pregnancy Resource Center, but I want it to be a resource center for life. I have come to you all and said this over and over and over again. I'm pro-life from the moment of conception until the moment that God decides that that person is finished here on this planet. And until God decides I'm finished here on this planet, I'm going to stand for life. And I have been overwhelmed with the outpouring of support from people in this community who want to help me do that. Thank you. Call me, message me on Facebook. Tracy Cummins, my number is 276-768-8744. Call me. I want to put all of these resources in place, along with First Baptist Church here in Independence, Mike Montgomery, Becky Montgomery, and Lillian Roberts, who are doing Bible school tonight, so they can't be here tonight. But we want to raise awareness, not just from birth, but hereafter. We do need to step up. Christians, we cannot stand on our soapbox and scream what you can't do. It's not helping anyone. I think you all know that. And I want to keep saying that. I want to keep expressing that. We've got to put our feet on the ground. I've got my feet on the ground, y'all. I'm working on 501c3. I don't know how long it'll take, but I'm going to do it. Lord willing, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to help everyone in this community that wants to stand for life. Now, I have a question for you guys. I've heard some opinions. Supervisor Fant, Supervisor Ivy, Supervisor Anderson, I've heard your opinions. I've heard Richard Vaughn's opinions. I want the facts, okay? This ordinance says this. I don't understand it. I've read it. I have. What exactly does it mean? I want the facts. Can we have our county's lawyers stand before us and answer our questions? Can this be done by law, by the Dillon rule, by all of these laws that I don't understand? Can this be done or can this not be done? If it can't be done, what can we do? You all have expressed that you are pro-life. I appreciate that. I want to know, what can we do? If we can't do the ordinance, we want to know what we can do. Thank you.
We do have plans on having the county attorney here at the August meeting. So,
Yes, confirmed that he will come then.
Can you take questions?
We submit questions in advance.
we check in with staff and submit questions ahead of time.
But just send them in to Linda Osborne here, and then we can forward those to Mr.
Gerber. Okay. All right. Next is Nancy Lieber.
Hi. I've written 2 letters to the Board of Supervisors regarding this ordinance. And it amazes me that we're still discussing this. So that's the reason for my coming this evening. I'm 76 years old. That means I was an adult, a functioning adult when abortion was illegal. The law at that time was widely ignored. There were something like 1.2 million abortions prior to Roe v. Wade. As a young woman, I knew people who had had abortions. Some surveys estimated 1 in 4 women knew someone who had an abortion. Granted, they were often illegal abortions with tragic consequences. But when abortion was illegal, the law was ignored. A good friend, her mother had an abortion on their kitchen table. In any case, whenever you make a law that people do not respect, it's going to be abused and ignored. That was what happened during Prohibition. That was what it was like prior to the legalization of abortion. I remember seeing an article in Newsweek right after Roe v. Wade. There was a doctor in Pittsburgh who had a 7-bed infirmary that he ran for years secretly. So that doesn't mean that the work that Ms. Cummings was talking about, I think, is truly excellent. It does not mean that we people, citizens of this county, cannot come together to work on the things that make it possible for women to choose not to have an abortion. That means education. That means access to health care. That means good jobs. These are things that the County Board of Supervisors should be doing, to make it possible for women to decide to keep babies if they so choose. But making a law that, purports to be moral, that is ignored, ends up not being particularly moral.
Laura George.
Hi, Laura George, 119 Oracle Summit Circle, Independence. My name is Laura, and I am a minister at Oracle Temple, which is an interfaith church. I'm also the executive director of the Oracle Institute, which is an educational charity. Once again, I want to stand up here and remind the Board of Supervisors that as a minister who has studied most of the world's religions, I'm focused on the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There's no doubt that this ordinance is motivated by religious reasons, and that's why most of the speakers tonight have mentioned their Christian faith. It therefore is religious in nature, and it represents a minority evangelical Christian view on when personhood begins. It's been brought to us by Texas Rights to Life and by the Federalist Society think tank that endorses Christian nationalism. So this again violates the First Amendment. So not only do these interlopers want to, I believe, trash the First Amendment of the Constitution, they're also seeking to eviscerate the Virginia Constitution, which also pledges religious neutrality. In addition, we have a statute here in Virginia called the Act for Religious Freedom. It happens to be the Oracle Institute mission statement. That's how much we are dedicated to religious freedom. Now, it may be true that evangelical Christians comprise the majority of the residents in Grayson County. That still does not give them a right to decide for those of us who are not evangelical Christians what to believe regarding personhood. More to the point, I'm seeing a deep lack of respect for the other faiths, which is why I bring this up every month. And I'm going to give you some stats, very current stats on how Americans are thinking. Catholics, surprisingly, are pro-choice. Catholics for Choice reports that 68% of Catholics support the trimester schemata of Roe v. Wade. The Quran is silent on abortion, just like the New Testament is, by the way. But Muslim scholars have determined that ensoulment occurs at the 120th day, so that's 4 months into the pregnancy. Therefore, Muslims do not have a problem with early term abortions. And these are some stats from the latest Pew report. 60% of mainline Protestants are pro-choice. 68% of Hindus are pro-choice. 82% of Buddhists are pro-choice. And 73% of the religiously unaffiliated in America support a woman's right to choose. At Oracle Temple, we do not believe that God is a man, and recently the Church of England so has decreed, nor do we think God is a woman. Rather, we believe that humanity is slowly evolving, and as we do, so does our concept of God. Today, we're seeing a merger of science and spirituality. That is really what the New Age movement is about. And so we believe that God defies human characteristics. We believe that God is an energetic force. And at Oracle Temple, we say that this force is made of truth, love, and light. Gandhi himself said God is truth. So these are the principles that are becoming the 21st century view of God. In short, this ordinance is based on a minority Christian view, not even the majority Christian view of when personhood begins. And certainly, people here can believe whatever they wish, just as everyone in America has the right to believe whatever they wish about when a human soul begins, when personhood begins, and when the constitutional rights that the lady was reading in the Constitution begins.
Thank you.
I love that I'm always the one that gets cut off. All right, thanks.
David Osborne, 248 Mountain View Road, Independence, Virginia. Also passing on 153 signatures for people that could not be here from Mountain View Baptist Church tonight to speak. Again, I'd like to encourage you guys to try to move this up as possible. I'm glad to hear we're having a lot of you here in August. Maybe we can get this moved up before November. I do encourage you, in God we trust, nation founded on God's holy word by godly men and godly women all throughout the Constitution. I can show you where it comes out of God's holy word. His holy word written by God, handed down to God to us. And that's what this nation is founded on, a Christian nation. I'm not talking about the other parts of the world, I'm talking about Grayson County. Grayson County citizens, by far, I believe, would like to see Grayson County become a sanctuary county for the unborn. God blesses righteousness. I know one of the main concerns I hear coming from the board members is there will be a lawsuit, and this will cost the county money. I do believe God says righteousness exalts a nation, sin is reproach to any people. All throughout God's word, it is clearly revealed that God's work done in God's way will never lack God's protection or God's provision. If we go and stand on what the word of God says, even though we do probably will get sued, we have free representation, pro bono. I believe that God will provide the other when you step out on faith. I hadn't planned on sharing this. There's a truck outside. If you see it when you go out, it says True Vine Produce. We've done food boxes at Mountain View for 3 years. We're going to do it again starting Monday, all the way through the next year and a half. We need in the past, we have used a truck of True Vine, worked around where we could use it. I talked to the owner about using it again this year. He said, there's no way you can use it. I'm so busy, I'm covered up. I said, well, find us one that we can purchase because we want to be a blessing to the county. Long story short, I said, you pray about it, we'll pray about it. We prayed about it. He called me back and said, I want to sell one of my old ones to update my fleet. So come over and look at it. Myself and another gentleman over looked at it and drove it. We made him a wild price. He said, I can't take that. I just dropped $15,000 in the motor, so I can't take that. Long story short, it went on. 3 or 4 weeks later, he walked in the church. He said that he got into argument with God about giving it to us. He told God he could not give it to us because if he gave it to us, he could not provide a new one. But if you ever got in an argument with God Jehovah, you know you can't win. I've been there. I've done that. He walked into church. He handed me the key to the truck, a $30,000 truck. God provided because we were stepping out on faith in God's provision in his holy word. He called me back at 3:00 that Sunday afternoon. I know I'm over, but I'm not over as much as you was. Called us back at 3:00 and said, I've got to share this with you. He said, I've been trying to get an account in Charlotte for several months. It's a big account. He said, it'll put me over. He said, that gentleman just called me just a few minutes ago and told me that God told him to give me that account. And he now has that account because he did what God told him to do, to give us the truck. And we were provided, he were provided, because we are stepping out on faith, doing what God's command in God's way. God will provide, I believe all my heart. The God of the Bible will provide when she sues. And there's other means that we need. If we stand for what God says, God will provide. Thank you.
Appears to be no other speakers. So there is no one asked for Board of Supervisors time. Again, I will remind everyone that there is a joint meeting, public session of the Carroll County Board of Supervisors, Galax City Council, Grayson County Board of Supervisors, and the Twin County Regional 911 Commission will hold a public meeting on August the 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Crossroads Institute to discuss regional interoperable radio system improvements. And with that, there's no closed session. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Do I have a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Chair also aye. Thank you all. Thank you.